So it's finally time to review Nishino Nanase's first photo book. I know what you're thinking. There's already been other photo books, but this time it's a real photo book. Before it was a shashinshu, which is sort of like a collection of images. This time it's a photo book where it's more about the photos with included material inside. And just so I don't mess up this photo book, I actually got some gloves so I could be nice and professional with this. So now we'll be able to look at it without getting all greasy if I haven't already greased it up when I first opened it. And just to give you guys a little perspective on the size of this photo book, it's actually a little bit bigger than, as you can see, Shirashi Mai's photo book, where it was about fashion. And it's a little bit smaller than Fukugawa Mai's photo magazine. And this one being a little bit smaller or equal size to one of the smallest photo books, which is closer to Hori Miona's and Watanabe Mayu's photo book. So that sort of size is like Fukugawa Mai's, and this is just a little bit smaller than that. So looking at this front cover, this is one of the 3 options that you have for getting the front cover. I personally prefer the 7-knit version, but I decided to go for the Amazon one just because it was less complicated to get it. And this cover right here, I think is my second favorite, so I think I'm okay with that. But looking at it, it's a nice, simple, clean cover. Nothing really too extravagant about it. Very blurry background. As you can see, it starts from her ears. So this is very tack sharp where it needs to be. So very good so far. And the little catchlight in the eyes are very interesting. So you can already see there's going to be a little bit more about fashion or more about her beauty in this than maybe compared to her other photo books, which I'll call them. Her other ones have honestly not been my favorite. They've actually been one of the weakest ones that I actually have. And I own the second one. I don't even want to own the first one. But looking at this photo book, it's actually much, much better. And this actually serves her justice. Looking at the back, we get to see it's a little bit fashionable again, which will kind of go with the whole theme of the photo book. And even right here, you get to see all the content over here. You get to see travel, fashion, beauty, dates, family, diary. All this over here is mostly written. And then over here is all the photos. So we get to see a little bit like that. If you've seen my Fukugawa Mai photo book critique, you'll be able to see. Well, it's not a photo book, it's a photo magazine. But anyway, you get the point. It was a little bit more magazine-esque, while this one's going to be a little bit more book-esque, especially at the end. Most of it is pictures, but then at the end we get a lot of writing. So if you know Japanese, you'll be able to follow along. And by the way, the photographer for this, I couldn't find out who the photographer is. Every single website that listed this photo book didn't list the photographers, so I imagine it was non-nose photographers. And looking at the back, you can kind of see that it was 2 people over here, or 3, so that's probably why they didn't list a photographer. And looking at the inside cover, we can see it's a nice black and white, cheaper to print, and especially with this going over 100,000 copies, it must turn out way better to have it like this. And then in the back, we get another cutout of a similar situation that she's in that we will see in the photo book. Now we get to the first page, it's blank, but then we open to the next one, bam, we get a nice portrait of Nishino Nanase with a singular highlight in her eye with all this brown theme around, really nice, especially with this white over here. I actually agree with it for once, because having all this brown and then the white in her eyes being white, her shirt being white, and then these borders over here being white, I think it all complements really well with each other. Very strong image to start, and especially since it's more of a book, then starting with this one kind of as a front cover is actually very nice. Then we get already to some of my favorite images, which are these right here in the desert. I really like the wardrobe that's going on around here. The lighting, I feel like they really worked it out very well. And this whole theme, the colors, how they combine with each other, the brown and the aqua colors really complement each other well. And this is, if they took out these greens, I think it'd be even a little bit better. And next up, we get the title sequence, which is Girls Trip in Morocco, and this is the sort of series that we'll see for this little section. And as you can see, compared to the image collection of the Shashinshu, there's a little bit more variety in this one. We've seen it more recently in photo books, but in this one you can see that it takes a little bit more liberty, making it a little bit more designy. Then we get this image right here, which we previewed before, and this image is really good. I just wish this wasn't in focus. Like, look at this. Doesn't that look way better than having this in focus? Well, we also get some camels over here. I wish these were a little bit bigger. I imagine these weren't so much in focus. This one kind of looks like it's just a tad bit out of focus, so maybe that's why they made it smaller, which is actually a pretty smart choice to do, because as you can see right here is where the focus is. It's not on her. So having it like this, being a little smaller, making everything look a little bit more compressed, makes it look a little bit sharper, makes it not that distracting. Then we get some fun images of her on a swing. I wish this one's okay being farther away, and I wish this one was just like a tad bit closer, maybe like this. That way we can have a contrast of having a wide one with a little bit tighter one instead of having these two, which are so close apart. And then this one, especially being more about her face, would have been really nice to see it a little bit closer up. Then we have a little bit more of a fashion-y kind of vibe. This one reminds me of the back cover because it is the same dress. It's a little bit different location, but this one you get to see some of the environments, see that this isn't your common place, and see her kind of having fun a little bit. Then we move on to a little bit more images. I actually like this image right here, and let's see if you guys can guess it, why I like this image. One of the reasons would be because of the catchlight in her eye. Looks really interesting. I think that's the remainder of the hammock that's going on over here. As you can see, it's a little bit like triangle shaped, and that's coming from the hammock from this side where the photographer is. But the thing I really like about this are the highlights in the hair. Again, I really like the backlight, especially when it comes to photos like these, really separating her. In this case, it's white in the back, but since it turns it kind of very light brown, I think I'm okay with it. But then contrast in this one, it's a little bit too strong, and it kind of blends in with this rock over here. So you need to be careful with that. And here we go, we have some of my favorite stuff, which is right here, where it's framing. I just wish this, maybe like do some Photoshop magic over here, fill this up with the leaves. That would have been real nice. But this frame right here, having her right here, is actually really nice, and I wish she was having her knees up here. That way she could frame in here, and then frame in here. Maybe trying that out, see how it works. Maybe this was the best possible solution for it. But nonetheless, I still think this needs to be the same stuff as this. That way it's more concentrated inside. Then we get a real interesting thing, which is this one right here. I do like that there's the two shot over here, but they actually added a blue border. I kind of wish they used the color picker tool and got this color just so it could kind of blend in a little bit. I would be curious to see how that looks. But I like this whole like backlit kind of photo feel to it. And especially this photo right here, I feel like this is a really strong image. Fingers are a little cut off, but I think I'm able to excuse it just because of how the photo looks in general, with the blue theme and the white theme going along with this. Then we move on to the cat photos, which is where the inside cover comes from. Apparently this cat came out of nowhere, just chilled right next to Nishino Nanase. But it seems like they took advantage of it and took some photos, and that's really what it's about, taking advantage of the moment and taking the pictures at the right moment. And I think these two shouldn't be right next to each other. I feel like they're a little bit too of the same photo. And then we move on to a little bit more swimwear, and these are a little bit more tame compared to like a regular photo book, or shashinshu, I should call it. But as you can see, it's a little bit more aesthetic. You get to see that they're playing along with the colors that are here. This one is a little bit more about the pose, plus they have like a little blurry leaf right in front of the lens. Fairly nice touch, and having everything else blurry in the background. Kind of having it a little bit more of a travel feel instead of like, hey, look at this girl wearing this outfit. And especially with one little detail, which is this right here. This little drink right here, I think adds just a little bit and makes the color pop a little bit. I just wish it was just a little bit more in the frame. But then they decided to include it in the frame, which is right here. So again, if it would have been introduced a little bit earlier with maybe like a little bit wider of an angle, then I feel like it would have went more smoothly into this. And then we have these photos right here. I think this is an interesting photo because we usually don't see shots like this where it's directly overhead. Just from looking at it and guessing, I imagine they were closer over here, and that's why the feet look a little smaller than their hands look. And playing with the shadows over here with the face being in front, and since you can't really get away from those shadows, especially with it being probably like 12 o'clock, this is the only way you could get away with it. In this one, as you can see, maybe the sun is a little bit more south. I don't know where the sun really goes, whether it's north or south in Morocco. I mean, I know it goes from east to west, but whether it's more placed south or north. And in this one, they take full advantage of that and place her in the shadows, which is why we see a lot of light over here, and the shadows starting to go this way. That's where she gets that over there. This white over here on the floor really helps bounce up light to her face, which is kind of why she has a lot more light in this area than in this area. Then we get a little bit more of a dress for Nishino Nanase, and I wish they included this more in shashinshus or photo books, like a little bit more like this kind of style to it, a little bit more fashionable, a little bit more like wearing a dress, being a little bit fancy. And I feel like I like this one a little bit more. It feels kind of like she could be like a character in like a Star Wars movie or something. I don't know if I can give that example, but that's just the vibe I get. It's kind of like, it feels like the rich part of the Star Wars universe, if you know what I mean. And this is sort of where they get the place for the front cover that I got, which is from Amazon. And as you can see, I kind of like the front cover more. Right here, her hand kind of feels a little bit awkward, especially with it pointing straight towards the camera. Then we start getting into a little bit more saucy area, and I didn't really expect this from the photo book. I thought it was gonna be a little more tame, a little more fashionable. But of course, since it is a little bit more about travel and girls' interest, I mean, girls are interested in lingerie and underwear, right? So this is why this is included in here. And seeing her over here wearing this, I think looks much better than she did in the other photo books before. I feel like whoever photographed this did a very good job. I mean, look at these. The face in themselves look way better, and the posing looks better too with the lighting and everything. I feel like the other ones really hurt in the lighting category, but in these, it's a very nice, big and soft open light, which really help complement her. Then we get something similar to the front cover of the 7net version. And this image right here, I'm a little bit iffy about. I don't know if it's the page, but her eye kind of looks like it's a little bit too separated. I think it might be just a little bit too close to the edge. I guess it doesn't distract me too much, but when it's bent like this, then it does distract me. And again, having that nice contrast of tight to wide. These two I'm not too crazy about. Lighting isn't that great. These two are colored differently. This one's crooked. Much prefer this one. I feel like they stuck with this one and they just needed another image, so they just stuck this one in there. Then we get another from wide to tight over here. Right here with a nice wide one with her posing there. I kind of feel like she's like just standing there. But then over here we get a nice portrait image of her. I wish it could have been cropped in a little bit more, but I really do like this light over here. Then we mess with more of the teal plus brown color over here, kind of like we did in the beginning of the photo book. And I really think this combination really works out for her. And then we end off with these images over here. This one, I actually like this one. A nice wide one. I wish it was like this wide one and then this tight one only. Kind of having the two, again, contrasting images. If you have it three like this, it kind of feels like, all right, let me take one over here, and then let me like go in a little closer, and then let me like, all right, let's set up for another one, which is this one over here. Kind of feels like you get to see the setup. Meanwhile, if you had this wide one and then this tight one, it kind of seems more purposeful and less like, all right, let's just plug these in. And now we get into the book parts. Honestly, this feels a little bit more of a magazine than it does a book, but we get to see right here a little bit more fashionable Nishino Nanase than we saw before, which was more travel Nanase. Maybe they couldn't get enough images from Morocco and they decided to do a photo book in this category. Or maybe they just thought, oh, let's do this. Oh, by the way, we're going to Morocco, so might as well plug it in. I think the first option seems more viable, but I'm glad they stuck with really strong images and made this rather than having really weak images throughout, doing her injustice again for the third time. But in this case, it worked out very well. And plus we get all of this content right here that you get to read and look at images of. As you can see, it's a little bit more fashionable, a little bit about what she wears. And these images right here are actually very nice. I like these two right here, her facing towards the light, and over here still facing towards the light, but having a little bit more of a cool and relaxed pose. And then we move on to a little bit more beauty work, which is highlighting her makeup. As we can see, it's a little bit more about the cheek and the lip over here. Right here, it's about eyeshadow, over here about eyeliner. Really highlighting that. Just images of Nishino Nanase close up should look good anyway. But as you can see, the lighting on these are different than, for example, the fashions one we just saw. The lighting is very soft. Like, look, you can see almost no shadow under her chin, even though the light is coming from above. And then we move on to a little bit more images, and it's still in the beauty category, but this one kind of has a little bit more of a fashion twist to it, with her wearing the hat and really going well with the lip color, really making the lip color really stand out with all of these darker colors with them. And even this beauty image right here is a little bit about the clothes as well and how it combines, and even the jewelry to help it pop out. Next we get a little bit more of a travel vibe, but this time inside of actual Japan, I imagine. And it's just a collection of images that go throughout and just go through where she goes to, because as you can see, she's showing off the sign, she's showing the hotel, she's going up the stairs, drinking, and playing ping pong. So it's mostly about just going through chronologically. And then next we have an interview, which you can go ahead and read, as well as a lot more interview stuff. Like all that I skipped has been like pure interview stuff, and like just moving on to like the last page where there's a main photo, which are these two, again going with that very nice brown and aqua theme to it. Kind of curious to see how it would look as one wide. I feel like the crop would be kind of weird. So I think I'm okay with it being like this, kind of like maybe the opposite, maybe having like eyes open and closed, kind of finishing it off. And then kind of like, yeah. So then going with this image, it being like open, close, and then bam, open with a smile. I feel like that would have been a nice transition through to the end of the photo book. Ending with this one. It's a pretty nice photo. I won't say it's like the second strongest or like one of the strongest photos in the actual photo book, but it's a nice photo, kind of smiling to send you away. Alright, so that does it for the photo book. Let me go ahead and show you guys my favorite image of the photo book, which is this one right here. You heard me rave about it in the beginning, and I think this is honestly my favorite photo of the photo book. The colors go really well with each other. The pose is very natural. The whole theme is really what sells it. And with the colors just being a complement with the posing and everything. And even the face is really strong, which really helps start out the photo book really strong. Which is why I think just overall, this photo book is way better than the other two photo books we have seen from Nishino Nanase. Finally, a photo book does her justice. So who do I recommend this photo book to? Well, I recommend it to, of course, Nishino Nanase fans. I recommend it to people who are fans of Nogizaka and people who generally like photo books. I think this is a great photo book to have, and I think it will do justice to Nishino Nanase, as I said before. So if you're interested in picking this up, I recommend it for sure to pick it up. There's even a lot of content at the end. You can study your Japanese, or if you know Japanese, you can go ahead and read more about Nishino Nanase. Well, that does it all for this photo book critique. You can go ahead and like the video. Leave your comments down below if you picked it up or want to pick it up. And you can go ahead and tell me your favorite photo down below. You can go ahead and subscribe to see future photo book critiques that I do. Next up, who's coming up? Sugai-sama is coming up. And I might go over a little bit over the Nogisatsu photo book. That's a maybe. But you can go ahead and check out other photo book critiques that I've done. I've done Ito Marika, I've done all the Hiyakizaka ones, and I've done a whole bunch of Nogi, AKB, a whole bunch of different ones. So you can go ahead and check them out in the channel. So that does it all for this time. Thank you all for watching.